Part 1. The meeting I should have never attended. I should have trusted my gut the moment I read her text. Family meeting, Sunday, 3 p.m., be on time? No warmth, no context, just a cold command from the woman who once forgot my birthday but never forgot to remind me I owed her everything. And yet, like a fool, I went. The house hadn't changed much since Grandpa's funeral. The same porch swing no one ever sat on, those pristine blue shutters like they were afraid to age. But inside, the air had shifted. Something in the way everyone sat, too quiet, too neat, like they'd practiced it. My mother's smile greeted me like a loaded gun, polished, calculated, and fake. "Francis," she cooed, the way she used to at church potlucks when she wanted people to think we were normal. "Meet our family advisors." Two strangers in tailored suits nodded like this was a brunch invitation, not an ambush. I didn't shake their hands. I looked to Karen, eyes downcast like a guilty child, and then to Mason. His eyes were rimmed in red. Not crying, just empty. My stepfather stood by the fireplace like a wax figure. Osai had arms crossed, as if he'd practiced this stance in the mirror. "Would you like some coffee?" my mother asked. I crossed my legs and rested my folder on my lap. "No, I'd like to know why I'm here." "Because we're family," she said, her voice syrupy sweet and rehearsed. "And your grandfather would have wanted us to work together." That's when it hit me. This wasn't a meeting. It was a performance. And I was the only one who hadn't been given a script. They wanted something they couldn't steal when Grandpa was alive. His legacy, and I was the one thing standing in their way. Part 2, the will that set everything on fire. The room smelled like dust and dried perfume, but the silence? That was the loudest thing. You could almost hear the tension folding in on itself, tight, ready to snap. 2 weeks after Grandpa's funeral, I'd sat in a conference room that felt more like a museum. Wood-paneled walls, the scent of leather-bound ledgers, and polished lies. My mother wore black silk and oversized sunglasses like she was auditioning for grief. Mr. Halbrook, the estate attorney, read through the usual pleasantries. A scholarship. A trust for an old employee. And then, to my granddaughter, Frances Claire Allard, I leave the remainder of my estate, including all remaining shares in Vance Materials, personal investment accounts, real property holdings, and personal effects. The room froze. Before anyone said anything, I felt the burn of their eyes on me. It hit me like heat from a fire I didn't start. "This is a joke," my mother hissed, pushing her sunglasses up like a villain in a soap opera. "He must have been confused. Read it again." Halbrook didn't flinch. "Your father was explicit." Karen gasped. Mason stared at nothing. And I sat still as a mountain, because I knew what was coming. "This isn't happening," my mother whispered. But it was. And in that moment, I became more than Harold Vance's granddaughter. I became the wall between them and the empire they'd been circling like vultures. Later that day, she found me in the parking lot. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were ice. "Just sign it over," she said. "I'll divide it fairly. Make sure everyone's cared for." I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I was measuring every word like it was ammunition. "I need time," I said. She narrowed her eyes. "This isn't yours, Francis. It's ours. Family money. Family legacy." "That's not what Grandpa said." Her mask slipped for half a second, rage breaking through her Botox smile. "He was manipulated. You spent too much time with him. He wasn't well." But he had been. 6 months before he died, he sat me down in his study and said, "They're going to hate this, but I built this for someone who understands what it cost me. That person's not your mother." It wasn't praise, it was a burden. One I was now carrying alone. That night, the messages began. "Karen, please don't let this ruin everything. We're still your family." My mother, You'll understand once you have kids. Family comes first. Mason, 1:43 a.m. Why? And then the guilt tsunami. Old friends of my mother, people I hadn't seen since middle school bake sales, called to say how heartbroken they were, how disappointed. Disappointed. That word kept surfacing, as if I'd robbed them of something they never built. But they didn't understand what Grandpa and I had. This wasn't a lottery win. I didn't inherit his business. I earned it. Every late-night spreadsheet, every warehouse walkthrough, every "I trust you" whispered between pine shelves and forklift beeps. Still, to them, I was a thief. 2 days later, Mason showed up at my building. No call. Just a slumped figure on the security cam. When I opened the door, he didn't step inside. "I'm not here to argue," he said. "Okay." "She's losing it," he whispered, calling realtors, saying she needs to refinance before you freeze everything. I blinked. "I haven't frozen anything." "She doesn't believe that." He looked exhausted, small, like a kid who knew the family rules were changing and didn't know which ones to follow. "I just wanted to warn you. She's planning something." Then he turned and walked away. No hug, no goodbye. Just that haunting silence that always follows betrayal. That night, Liam, my boyfriend and the only person who hadn't turned into a financial vulture, brought Chinese takeout and sat beside me. "I want you to meet someone," he said softly. "Angela Dwyer. She's a probate lawyer, old friend. Not for a fight, unless you need one. For protection." I didn't answer, but I nodded. And that nod would change everything. Part 3. The calm before their next storm. Angela's office didn't smell like court battles. It smelled like eucalyptus and something warm, like a place where people actually listened. It was above a flower shop. No mahogany, no glass conference rooms, no walls designed to intimidate. Just sunlight, soft chairs, and a woman who didn't interrupt when I told her everything. My grandfather's will, the meeting, the pressure, the guilt. After I was done, she leaned back, fingers steepled like she was folding the weight of it all into a decision. "You're already in the middle of a coordinated pressure campaign," she said. "Classic family guilt tactics. But based on the will and what you've shown me, you're on firm legal ground." "I don't want to fight them," I said. I just want it to stop." "Then we prepare," she replied. "Document everything, texts, calls, voicemails. No signing anything, no matter what they call it." I nodded. It sounded simple, but that was before the next message arrived. It was a photo. My mother shopping for patio furniture. The caption read, "Retail therapy through grief." Hours later, she texted claiming she couldn't afford her utility bill. I started printing everything, every message, every manipulative meme, every fake cry for help. Then came the official invitation, a text message. Sunday, 3 p.m., the house. Bring your paperwork. No signature, no emoji, just a landmine with a timestamp. Angela frowned when she saw it. "This feels like an ambush." "It is," I said, "but I'm not walking in blind." "I can come with you." "No, I need to face them, but I want you waiting nearby." "One text," she said, "and I'll be at the door in 60 seconds. That Sunday, I arrived at 2:59 p.m. The porch still smelled faintly like her perfume, probably rehearsed again. She opened the door before I could knock. Her smile beamed like a politician on debate night. "Francis," she chirped, "right on time?" Inside, it looked like a courtroom designed by Pottery Barn. Everyone seated, lights dimmed. One chair left, dead center, across from the firing squad. I sat down without a word. "Would you like some coffee?" she asked, as if pretending this was some PTA meeting. "I'm fine," I said. "Let's get to it." Two men I'd never seen before were sitting in armchairs, usually reserved for relatives during Christmas fights. Suits, smiles, legal pads. "This is Mr. Hale and Mr. Darnell," my mother said with a fake flourish. "They're helping us resolve this unfortunate misunderstanding." Mr. Hale cleared his throat. "Your family is deeply concerned about the strain this has caused," he said. "No one wants a prolonged dispute. Your grandfather's intention was clearly to keep the family united." I let the silence hang. "He wrote a will," I said, "We're not disputing that," my mother jumped in. "But surely you agree splitting the estate would be more harmonious." "Harmony wasn't in the will," I replied. Mr. Darnell slid a stack of papers toward me. "This is a voluntary redistribution agreement. You retain 20%. The rest goes back to the family." I looked at him, then at the papers, then back at him. "Understood by whom?" Karen's voice trembled. "Grandpa was sick, Francis. He wasn't thinking clearly. He trusted you to know what to do." "I do know," I said, "which is why I won't be signing that." Mason fidgeted. "Mom says if we don't figure this out, we'll lose the house." "Did someone take out another mortgage?" I asked, eyes still on the papers. My mother's face cracked for half a second before the mask returned. "Francis, don't do this!" Mr. Hale jumped in. "If this moves to court, claims of undue influence could damage the estate's reputation." There it was, the threat, finally spoken aloud. I placed my hand calmly on my folder. "Before I respond," I said, "I wanted to clarify something." I turned to Craig, my stepfather. 6 months ago, you told Grandpa's nurse you'd already put a deposit down on a property in Naples. His eyes widened. His mouth opened, then shut. "That was with inheritance money, wasn't it?" I asked. "Money you hadn't received." I opened my folder and slid out a printed email, a quote from the real estate agent. Then the next page, a photo from my mother's Instagram. Her sipping champagne on a cruise. Caption: "Deserved this." "Loan to Denise, $30,000, Grandpa's handwriting read on the attached ledger. She said it was for Mason's college. Found out it was a crisis cruise. Silence. I turned to Karen. "Remember that weekend in Scottsdale? The spa package?" Her eyes went pale. Craig muttered something under his breath. "This is low," he spat, twisting a dead man's notes against his own family. "He kept notes," I replied, "because he knew this would happen." I reached for the last page in my folder. An envelope, sealed. My name written in Grandpa's handwriting. For Francis, if they come for it. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Mr. Hale adjusted his tie. "Miss Allard, we were told this would be a cooperative conversation." "It never was," I said. "And you're not legal counsel. You're just here to scare me." I turned to my mother. "You didn't tell them I already have a lawyer, did you?" "She's in a car outside. One word from me and she'll be at the door." The men stood. One muttered something about leaving. My mother's smile dropped entirely now. "This isn't over," she snapped. "No," I said, standing. "It's over." I gathered my papers, slow, deliberate. "I'm not signing anything. I won't fund your spending habits, and I won't rewrite Grandpa's legacy just because the truth doesn't fit your story. You owe us. I owe Grandpa. That's who I'm honoring." And then Mason stood. Everyone froze, even Craig. "I didn't know," Mason said, "about the cruise or the spa, or that you used my name to get money from him." He turned to my mother. "You told me Francis was selfish, but you lied about everything." "Mason, sit down," she barked. "No." The word hit like thunder. He looked at me. "Can I come with you?" I nodded. Craig puffed up his chest. "You little—" I raised my phone. "This has been recorded." He stopped cold. We left. No more arguments, no more begging. Angela was already out of the car when we stepped onto the driveway. "You okay?" she asked. "He's with me," I said, "and we're done here." Part 4. The legacy he left and the one I'm building. Mason didn't talk on the way back. He just sat there, hands in his jacket pockets, staring out the passenger window like the city had lost its color. I didn't ask him what he was thinking. I didn't have to. I could feel it. The quiet devastation of realizing the people who raised you never really told you the truth. When we got to my apartment, he followed me up like he'd done it 100 times before. "You're on the couch," I said. "It folds out. Sheets are clean." He nodded. "Thanks." We didn't talk about what had just happened. I made tea. He drank it. I opened my laptop. He just sat, eyes locked on the ceiling like he was searching for a star that no longer existed. But the silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was healing. The next morning, I woke with clarity. Not anger, not fear, just stillness. A kind of resolve that felt like standing on solid ground after months at sea. I drove to Grandpa's house. My house now. The air inside was stale, thick with ghosts and dust, but it still smelled like him. Coffee grounds, cedar, printer ink. His study was untouched, exactly as he'd left it. I opened the center drawer of his desk. There it was, his journal. Dark leather, corners frayed. The pages inside were filled with his handwriting, sharp, precise, unflinching. Flipping through it, I found notes from business meetings, projections, loan ledgers. Then, near the back, a single sentence scribbled into the margin. "Frances has what Denise never learned: restraint, clarity. If she chooses to lead, this business may survive me. If she chooses to love it, it may outlive us both." I just sat there, letting it sink in. It wasn't about money. It never had been. It was about trust. That afternoon, I met Angela at a quiet cafe. We sat at a window table while I slid the journal across the table. "This should be filed," I said, supporting documentation. "If they try anything..." She nodded, flipping through it with the same reverence you'd give a will carved into stone. "This closes every loophole," she said. "No court's going to question this." We spent the next hour drafting something else, something that felt more like healing than legalese. A trust, not for Karen, not for Craig. For Mason. Enough for school. Not enough to be manipulated. Clean. Private. Controlled by me until he graduated. Angela nodded when I signed it. "This is generous," she said. "Fair. Smart." When I got home, Mason was curled on the couch with one of Grandpa's old trade magazines. He looked up. "You know, Grandpa always wanted to expand into green materials. Thermal concrete, eco-lumber. But the board shut it down." I leaned on the doorframe, watching him. "I remember. He used to rant about it over dinner." I smiled. "What would you say to an internship?" I asked. "Real work. No shortcuts." He blinked. "You serious?" "Completely." His face broke into something I hadn't seen in a long time. Hope. "Yeah," he said. "I'd like that." We toasted with mugs of cold tea like it was champagne. That night, I slept. Deeply. No midnight texts, no guilt-riddled dreams. Just quiet. Part 5, I didn't just inherit it, I earned it. 1 year later, I walked back through the front doors of Vance Materials, not as the shy granddaughter who used to shadow her grandfather on warehouse tours, but as its next chapter. We kept the name, kept the old sign, but inside everything was different. We went paperless, implemented sustainability protocols, and with Mason at the helm of the eco division, we finally pushed through the green building initiatives Grandpa had dreamed of when everyone else dismissed them as idealism. He's not the same Mason who once sat on the edge of a family ambush, silent and afraid. He's steady now, practical. The kind of person who shows up early and listens more than he speaks. Grandpa would have approved. Karen reaches out sometimes. Small things. A forwarded article, a photo of an old family recipe. I don't ignore her, but I don't open the door too wide either. Some wounds need air, some need distance, and some just need time. My mother disappeared not long after that last meeting. Different zip code, different life. And maybe that's for the best, because there's a part of me that no longer needs to chase her approval, or explain myself to her judgment, or keep bruising myself against her entitlement. Some inheritances are measured in numbers, others in scars, in boundaries, in the strength it takes to say, no, not this time. People like to say, I got lucky, that I came into something, but they didn't see the ledger at age 12. The weekends at the warehouse, the nights I stayed up crunching numbers with Grandpa while everyone else was at the lake. They didn't hear the conversations, the ones where he'd say, we don't just build materials, Francis, we build reputations, and we don't burn those down, not even for family. He didn't leave me his legacy because I was his favorite. He left it to me because I was the only one who wouldn't set it on fire. In his journal, I found something I hadn't seen before. Tucked between projections and business notes, one last scrawl in the margins. Francis won't always be loved for doing what's right, but she'll sleep at night, and I do. Not every inheritance comes with a ribbon, sometimes it comes with battle scars. But if you've ever stood your ground against people who were supposed to love you, then you understand. If this story resonates with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to follow Family Truths for more stories like mine.